Right, hey guys, it's Weston here. So today I'm going to be reviewing the Huawei P9. So just let's say a massive thank you to Vodafone for sending this out to review. So anyway, let's not waste any more time and let's just jump straight into it. So let's take a better look at this phone. So the colour I have is the titanium grey, and although it's not my favourite finish out of all the different options, that would be the red one, which looks really nice. This is actually a really nice finish, but like I said, the red version that's just been brought out is definitely my favourite out of all the options available for this phone. So let's take a closer look around it. So you can see at the top there's pretty much just your microphone. You can just see those slight edges which are a different colour to the rest of the body, and I just think it's a really nice accent feature. Going down onto the bottom, and you've got pretty much all your stuff here. So you've got your 3.5mm jack, your primary microphone, a USB Type-C and your speaker. Now I don't like that it's not symmetrical, that kind of bothers me a little bit, but for you that might not be an issue. I'd rather have the 3.5mm at the top. On the left hand side we've got access to your dual SIM card slot or a SIM and micro SD card slot, which I'll cover more later on. And on the opposing side you've got a textured volume button which actually feels fantastic. It's really tactile and clicker. And then you've got your volume rocker, which again it feels really nice. Both are finished in metal and just feeling really premium. So looking around the back of the phone, you can see we've got a glass portion with your dual camera setup, and these are Leica lenses and they're really good. Again, I'll cover more later on in the video. You can also see we've got your fingerprint scanner, again with that really nice silver accent. In the middle we've got a sticker which you can actually remove, and then at the bottom we've got some Huawei branding. And then finally at the front we've got your front facing camera, your earpiece and all your sensors up top, your display in the middle and a little bit of Huawei branding at the bottom. So in the hand this phone feels fantastic. So it measures in at 145 by 70.9 by 7mm, so it's actually pretty compact and coming in at 144 gram. It's not exactly what I'd call very heavy, but it's not really light either. So the body is made from metal. We've got a metal frame and also a glass front. Now I can't find out what version of Gorilla Glass this is. I'm presuming it's probably the latest version, which is 4, but it doesn't actually say, but that'd probably be a good guess for the price of this phone. So yeah, the phone feels really nice in the hand. It's a little bit squarish in its design, and that means it'll actually be a little bit more secure in your hand than a curved phone would be, but some people might find it a little bit uncomfortable. I think it's reasonable. It's not as comfy as the Mi 5 I've been testing at the same time, so yeah, just keep that in mind. So let's get on to the display next. So this is a 5.2 inch display, which is actually pretty impressive considering the size of the phone. It's an IPS Neo LCD display, it's 1080p and it has 423 ppi. And the display is actually really nice, it's very sharp. The colours are really nice and accurate, but if you don't like how the colours look, you can always modify them in the settings menu, and you've got like colour temperature and all that good stuff if you don't like how the display looks out of the box. I personally quite like it. It's quite cool and quite accurate, and that's just the way I like it, but it's a really nice looking display. Text is really nice and sharp, images look great on it, and watching video again is really a nice experience. Because it's IPS, it's also got really great viewing angles, so there's no issues with viewing this display. It also goes very bright as well, so outdoor visibility is really good. It's not obviously the best, it's probably better now, but it is still very good outdoors. So getting onto the UI next, and this is running EMUI 4.1 on top of Android 6.0. So it is a fairly new UI. We do know that Nougat is coming out to more phones very soon, and hopefully this will be getting it, but I couldn't say when. And it's actually got some pretty nice features that I haven't covered in my previous videos. So if you swipe up from the lock screen, you actually get some quick settings. You can see we've got some media keys, quick access to your settings, and also some cool little shortcuts as well. Something I've not really seen on other phones, and I think it's a really nice little addition. You've also got an option for a simple home screen menu, and that means if you're not too familiar with Android and you just want a really basic looking one, or if you're getting one for an elderly person or your parents or something like that and they're not really familiar with smartphones, you can simplify the phone and just make it a little bit easier to use. You've also got a couple of different one-handed mode features as well. So if you've got smaller hands and you can't really use this phone one-handed very well, it's got a one-handed mode, and that is really easily accessed. But all that you do is swipe across the keys at the bottom, and that'll just turn you into one-handed mode. And you've also got a one-handed keyboard as well. So if you have trouble typing on the full keyboard with one hand, you can actually change it to your preference if you're left or right-handed, which I think is a really cool feature. But onto the keyboard though, and I actually really don't like the keyboard. I think think it's a little bit cramped, and there is a little key that actually highlights the last thing that you've typed, and I found that I've knocked that loads of times and accidentally deleted what I was actually writing, which I think is quite annoying. But you can always install a different keyboard if you want to, but I just don't like the one that comes included. So the rest of the UI is actually, again, not that nice. I mean, I'm a stock Android fan and I really do love how stock Android looks. This has some stock Android-ish looks. I mean, all the YouTube apps and all the Google apps look like they do on stock Android, but just that some of the ones that come included with the phone, I don't really like that much. I don't think they're very nice looking icons. Luckily, there is a really good theme store, and I have covered this a little bit, but when you go into the theme store, you can pick from thousands of different themes, and that'll just change the entire look of the phone without having to install any further apps, which I think is pretty cool. So next up we get onto the performance, and I've touched on this a little bit already, and I'll link all the previous videos in the description, but it's actually a really solid phone. It's got a Kirin 955, a Mali T880 MP4 GPU, 3GB of RAM for this model, but if you go for the higher up one you get 4GB. It's got 32GB of storage, which around 25GB is usable, and you can expand up to 256GB via SD. So it's actually pretty impressive storage wise. Performance though, again, is really impressive. It's really fast, it's really fluid. The UI, even though it's not stock Android, is actually pretty lag free. Multitasking is actually really good because it's got 3GB of RAM, so really impressive for app switching. Gaming performance is actually really admirable. I've touched on this a little bit before, but it's actually a pretty solid gaming phone. You can play games like Asphalt 8 really smoothly at their high settings. Injustice, Gods Among Us, again, is quite an intense game that plays really well. So yeah, it's a really fast, really fluid, and a good performing phone overall. Onto battery next, and this is a 3000 mAh non-user removable battery, and it does have fast charging. Now, it's not the quickest charging compared to Quick Charge 2.0 and 3.0. It's nowhere near as fast. It is actually a little bit quicker than standard charging. So if you use the included charger that comes with the phone, then it will charge faster than, say, it would off a normal charger, but it's still not what I'd call really fast charging. Actual battery life is pretty impressive. I can easily get through 1 day's use, sometimes even 1.5, a bit lighter use, and I'm getting around 5 hours average screen on time, sometimes closer to 5.5 hours, which is actually pretty impressive considering all the specifications and the display. And it's also got one cool little battery saving feature that I've not seen on another smartphone yet, and that is the ability to change the resolution. So you can drop the resolution down to 720p to save battery, which I think is pretty cool and something I've never seen on another phone. So now we get on to the cameras, and like I said, it has two cameras. So it's got two 12 megapixel f2.2 aperture cameras made by Leica. So if you've heard and you know about your cameras, you know Leica makes some really incredible optics, so you know you got some good stuff coming in the cameras, and they actually do really deliver. So I've covered the cameras a little bit previously, so I'm going to talk about all the stuff I didn't cover in those videos. But anyway, here are the specifications. So like I said, it's got two 12 megapixel f2.2 aperture rear cameras, phase detect autofocus, which is pretty quick, and it's got a dual tone flash. Front facing camera is 8 megapixels f2.4, so it's not exactly the best front facing camera in terms of aperture. There is much lower now, but f2.4 is pretty respectable, and it's also got a display filler as well, so that means it uses your display as a filler flash. You've also got some pretty cool camera modes like the shallow depth of field mode, which you can actually take a photo and adjust the aperture, so you can go all the way down to f like 1.0, and it just gives you a really nice shallow depth of field, and the effect works really well. Here's a couple of samples I've taken just around the house, and it is actually a really nice effect. It's also got monochrome as well, and because you know it's got two sensors, it's got one RGB, one monochrome, and it can actually take photos with just a monochrome sensor as well. So that means you're getting true black and white photos rather than ones that have been like synthesized and done that way. It's actually a true black and white, and the images look really impressive. They're really sharp. The black and white just looks fantastic. Now, I don't know much about black and white photography, but it does look really impressive to my eyes. Right guys, so now we get on to the final part of this review, and that is the sound quality, and I'm actually really impressed with the P9. Now, it might not be the best at the minute because we've got things like the ZTE Axon 7, the LG V20 and the HTC 10, which have all got really impressive audio from the 3.5mm jack. But the amp and DAC combo in this is actually pretty impressive. So the 3.5mm jack produces really loud audio, and if you've got a good set of headphones, say something like the Sony MDR1A like I use, then you're going to be pretty impressed with the quality it can produce. Then we got onto the speaker, and it's actually again pretty impressive. It goes loud, it's not got that much body, but it doesn't distort either, which is pretty impressive. So if you're just watching YouTube, then it's perfectly adequate for that. The only downside is it's side firing, so that means it's quite easy to block while you're gaming or watching media. So yeah, I wish it was front facing, that would have been much better, but it's pretty decent for what you get. Right guys, so that is pretty much it for this review. So what do I think of the P9? Well, I think it's a pretty impressive phone, but does it do enough to stand out in the market it's in? So like I've said already, we've got stuff like the ZTE Axon 7, the OnePlus 3, and loads of other devices at the same price. So can it do enough to stand out? Well, I think in a way it does. I mean, it's got that really impressive camera setup like we've seen in this video and all my other videos. It does really impress there. Audio, it might not stand out because the ZTE's got dual front facing speakers and a better audio jack, so it kind of don't win there. But I think as an overall package, the screen, the battery life, and pretty much everything about this phone is good. Now, some things you might not like the UI is not my preferred UI, but luckily with a theme store it is very changeable. So yes, it is a likeable phone, but it's got a really tough competition with all the different phones that are out at the minute at this price. So can it do enough? For me, I think it would be enough for the phone. The cameras are probably what sell it for me. They're just really impressive and the quality is fantastic. But then again, other phones have got really good cameras too. So it is a really tough sell, but I think it is definitely worth your consideration. Right guys, so that is pretty much it for this video. If you've got any questions about this phone, then drop me a comment down below. Thank you again for watching guys. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more of these videos like this, and more stuff coming very soon on the channel. So thank you so much again, and I will see you all in the very next video.